Hello, welcome to Chaos TV. You're here with Pudge and I'm going to be presenting a section today on employment in Bristol with the Deputy Mayor thanks to Seetec Plus. I'm delighted to welcome Deputy Mayor of Bristol, Asher Craig, Adam from Seetec Plus and Caitlin, who has been supported by Seetec Plus on the JETS programme. Today we're going to be talking about employment in Bristol and the support that is available to help people back into work. And while we're on this show, please don't forget you can get in contact with us. Text chaos and your message to 82228. Standard network rates apply. Please get the bill payer's permission before you do so. You can also email hello@thisischaos.co.uk. You can call 01872 228844, and of course all across social media we are at Chaos TV UK. Please use the hashtag #KeepItChaos. So first and foremost, hello to everyone. How are you all doing?
Hi, nice to be here.
Thank you all very much for coming on. I think it might be best if we all, if I get to know names to faces. Can I just say hello to the Deputy Mayor of Bristol, please?
Yes, you can. Hi, everyone. I'm Councillor Asher Craig. I'm the Deputy Mayor of Bristol, and I'm also the Cabinet Lead in the city with responsibility for communities, equalities, and public health.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And Adam from Seetec Plus. I can only guess now who I can see on the screen.
Hi, my name's Adam. I'm an employment advisor for Seetec Plus, and I've been here for about a year now.
I'm going to try not to get too confused here because my real name is actually Adam as well. So yeah, I feel like we're barreling towards a communication problem. I'll stick with Pudge, it's fine. And Caitlin, hello and welcome to you.
Hi.
Nice to have you all on this. So let's start off with a few questions. Can I go over to you, Asher, actually? Could you tell us about your role as Deputy Mayor a bit more, please?
Okay, so I, though I have a specific cabinet role as lead on communities, equalities and public health, it's quite a broad remit. And also as Deputy Mayor, I also deputise for the Mayor in his absence. So a very wide-reaching role, anything from international economic development. But I think one of the great things about my role as Deputy Mayor also is that my portfolio responsibilities do cut across every aspect of the services and the work that we do in the city. So that whether that's around education and skills and employment, whether that's around health and well-being, in climate change, the list goes on and on. But I have specific responsibility for communities, so funding of the voluntary community sector, community safety partnerships, so working cross-partnership and collaboratively with the police and other key providers to address community safety and antisocial behaviour. I've got responsibility for parks and green spaces within the city also. Cemeteries and crematoriums is part of my brief too. When it comes to equalities, it's all aspects of equality, inclusion and diversity, and we set clear policy and goals, and I have helped oversee a number of kind of key initiatives that help progress people through employment, both within our organisation and externally, through award-winning programmes like Stepping Up. And then obviously with public health, COVID has been kind of like the key priority over the last year and a half. So leading on our response to COVID-19, but also responsible for the health and well-being of the citizens here in the city. So again, working cross-partnership with a range of different agencies to ensure that the services that we are providing in Bristol meet the needs of our population. So very wide-reaching, and the list is far longer than that. I should also add as well that I'm also leading on the work that we're doing around legacy and memorial to slavery as a result of the toppling of that statue last year in Bristol.
Flipping, that is like if you've got more than that already, you've got quite a bit of responsibility on you.
Oh, there's huge. There's a lot more where that comes from. I can assure. Oh, libraries. Oh, yeah, I should do libraries. Counter-terrorism. It's all in my brief.
I hope you get a chance to sleep at some point.
My children would. My children have a lot to say about that. They're like, where is time for you, Mum?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, this kind of role that you have, you don't just jump into lightly or really get to without going along quite a path of some sort. Could you tell us a little bit about your career journey?
Okay, so really very quickly, I think my journey, I am a community activist, okay, and I started at quite a young age. And again, I always say to people, no one gave me permission to step into this space and to step into this role. As a teenager, it was actually what really kind of spurred me to get involved in community empowerment and support for local communities was the discrimination that Black people were facing here in the city. And it was just after the riots in St. Paul's, the first riots in St. Paul's back in the 80s, that I rocked up to a meeting at a local community centre in St. Paul's, got wind of the fact that all this money was coming down the line from central government. I think it was a huge amount of regeneration funding, area programme it was called. And I decided to rock up at a meeting at City Hall. This young 19-year-old, right, don't know who I'm going to meet, what's going to happen. I walk into this room at City Hall, very first time I'd ever actually even been at City Hall, and realised that I was the only Black person in the room, and no one was actually representing the ward that had the riot. So remember, the money was coming down to address all of the ills and concerns and the challenges that we were facing in the inner city, but every other ward councillor and lots of other organisations from across the city were all sitting at the table looking at how they were going to carve up what was basically our funding. So, I was a bit of a young whippersnapper, so I didn't know diplomacy. I have learned along the way, but I have learned from very many people. But I suppose that was my first foray into also engaging with the local authority and a whole range of different players. And I have to admit, maybe it's the way how my parents, my father particularly, raised me. But I was and have never been fazed, regardless of whose company I'm in. So, yeah, sitting around tables, even chairing meetings in my early 20s. I went on to become the chair of a number of key citywide partnerships, Bristol Early Years and Childcare Partnership, the Bristol Regeneration Partnership. I was in my early 20s then. And leading and making some key decisions about how communities of Bristol should be resourced and regenerated. And I have to say, I do look back and I drive through certain areas of the city and I think to myself, I was a part of that decision, or, instrumental in making this happen in different areas across the Bristol. But it was never my ambition to become a local councillor. I've worked as a director for a number of voluntary and community sector organisations. I then went off to London to become a director of a national Black organisation, and again working across government on how we look at addressing discrimination across the piece. So came back to Bristol, was in London for 5 years, came back to Bristol and worked for the Learning and Skills Council, and I was responsible for commissioning of training and employment services across the west of England for the LSE for about 5 years. I was doing that work, and also responsible for delivering the LDD strategy, learning difficulties and disabilities strategy, and commissioning of services that would meet the needs of disabled people across the west of England. So, no ambition to become a local councillor. I was always poacher, but now I've turned the gatekeeper. But I still think I'm a great gatekeeper, but I'm also still a poacher at heart. So, my natural instinct as someone from the community actually kicks in when it comes to looking at how we develop and set policy here in the city. I'm somebody who has lived experience. I was born in this city. I am vested in this city. So, my rise to becoming a deputy mayor was completely accidental. That's all I say to people. I am an accidental politician.
I mean, considering all the things you've done, I see why it's accidental, but I can also see why it's not really a surprise when you're doing so much to help other people. You're going into that kind of, you're sort of sending yourself towards that role without sort of knowing. I think it's the safe way of saying.
For me, it was quite natural. So when I actually just got an email one day saying, "Oh, Asha, would you consider stepping up to become become a councillor?" And I deleted the email. I didn't even respond to the email. I'm like, me, councillor? I haven't got time for that. No, I'm too busy. I've got stuff to do in the community and wider stuff. And then about 3 days later, another quite urgent email came, and I sat back and I reflected, and I thought to myself, all my working life, all my life in terms of community activism, doing community development work, capacity building, all of that across the whole city and specific communities, I just thought, well, actually a councillor is no different. So, it just means that I have a much broader constituency, 4,500 people, but I have, but I'm a natural, getting stuff done. I like to help people. I'm a problem solver. I literally stood with only 7 weeks to go before the actual election. I made the decision that I was going to do what people had a year to do. I was going to do it in 7 weeks. So I literally knocked every door of all of my constituents' doors. I think there were only 2 blocks of flats I couldn't get into. I knocked every ward in my constituency, not once, not twice, but 3 times during that 7 weeks. And great way to lose weight, I should say. Okay. And because it was really important for me to set out my stall. Who am I? Who is Asha Craig? My previous incumbent sadly passed away, and he had been the local councillor. Ron Stone had been the local councillor for many, many years, so he was really, really well known. But I'm a black Rasta woman called Asha Craig. People want to know who I am, what I stand for, and so I also came into my own when I started the door knocking. I actually realised how much I love campaigning and talking a good talk and trying to persuade people to vote for me. And I obviously did something right, because I smashed it at the elections. I blew all the other candidates out of the water. And I did the same thing this year again, with 52% of the overall votes going to myself.
I mean, you have so much energy, and you need the energy to do all the things you do. But I've got to ask a bit of a weird one here. Apart from obviously all the walking, what would you say is your number one tip then for keeping healthy and well at work, considering all the things you do?
Do you know something? You really do have to set aside time. I mean, there was one stage I was going crazy because every single space in my diary the team would fit in a little half hour there, 15 minutes there. I now take time out, okay? I make sure that, and I suppose the last year and a half as well with COVID and working from home as well, I've been able to maybe bring a lot more balance. But I just do enjoy, I have 3 daughters. I love traveling when we can travel. And I take time out and read a lot as well. So, and I also live very near to beautiful park in my part of the city, Eastville Park. So I go over to Eastville Park and have a little walk around and just chill.
Fantastic. It's good to see that you've got that balance there, especially considering how much you're doing. Could I bring this now back to, obviously we mentioned the pandemic and how that's hit jobs in Bristol. Could you tell us a bit more in detail about how things have been going in regards to jobs in Bristol in the pandemic, and now how it's getting back on its feet?
Okay, so obviously every city had been hit incredibly hard through COVID, particularly the hospitality industry, kind of the creative industry as well. So I actually do pride myself on the fact that during the last 18 months, we actually, we moved to work much more closer with the events and the festival sector, who were really, really hard hit. There were a number of people obviously on furlough as well within our own organisation, and some people who lost their job. So it was really important for us as a city that we put in place as quickly as we could an economic recovery strategy post-COVID, which we have put in place, and that's been in place since last year. We're now kind of delivering the action plans, but obviously part of the economic recovery is looking at how we create employment in the city, particularly as we have declared a climate and ecological emergency. So one of the things I know I'm always banging on about is that people want to know, what are these green jobs? What do they look like? So if we're going to create new opportunities for people in the city, then we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place and the training and the learning that's in place for that to happen. On top of that, we obviously had the government initiative to get young people back into employment, and so we're operating a one-door system. So Bristol City Council, as the lead organisation, is working with a range of our partners. We call it the One City approach here in Bristol, where we work collaboratively together, and instead of us all kind of competing against each other, we use the City Council's kind of one front door where people can go in and then get access to information on employment opportunities that are available. And then you've got organisations like Seetec and others who are directly funded via the West of England Combined Authority, who has responsibility for funding skills and training across the city and also the wider sub-region. And so, it's really important for us to ensure that Seetec and other organisations are delivering training and providing employment opportunities for those who come through their doors. I will also say as well that I'm really pleased in the way in which our city partners have really kind of stepped up to the plate. Everyone is worrying about employment in the city, but as I said, we're trying to look at new job opportunities, creating new job opportunities. And I would have to say, I haven't seen the figures recently, but I think in terms of Bristol, we have so many types of industry and opportunities that are available that I'm hoping that we will recover. We're starting to recover, but we will get back to hopefully where we were before. And I think, as I said, creating new opportunities for employment opportunities for people.
Well, that's really lovely to hear. And obviously you mentioned Seetec Plus. They're supporting the people of Bristol to rediscover their transferable skills and find work. So I'd like to bring in Adam now, if that's all right, from Seetec. Hi, Adam.
Hiya.
Hiya. So could you tell us a little more about how Seetec Plus are helping people back into work?
So I've been an employment advisor about 12, 13 years now. So I started at the job centre at 17. And have seen a multitude of programmes, from New Deal to Work Programme, Work and Health Programme, and now JETS. And every programme has its differences, but I will say that JETS and Seetec are very, very candidate-led. We'll do whatever we can to try and get a candidate into work and sort of change their lives, really. And that can be anything from buying an engine to a motorbike, I think I bought this year, a clutch on a car, to some retraining, like we're doing with Caitlin, in sort of marketing and social media, trying to sort of hit those 2021, 2022 sectors. So yeah, it's really nice to see that Seetec have really put the candidate first. Those financial support for the customers, just that first month of the bus pass, and working with other organisations in Bristol. So Wills to Work network, the Ways to Work network, that sharing those opportunities and sort of working collaboratively to try and ensure that our people have the most opportunity and the most sort of training available to be able to achieve what they want to.
That's really fantastic stuff. More about yourself now, if you don't mind. What would you say? What could you tell us a bit about your role at Seetec Plus?
So I'm an employment advisor. So we each have a caseload. It differs in sizes depending on the year and how many job centres would like to send us across. So we work with anything from sort of 40 to about 80 people at any one time. We would have probably weekly appointments with our candidates. We can do appointments on Teams or work remotely, or we're usually in the office one day a week to see people that want to see us face to face as well. We will take people through the whole journey. So right from talking about transferable skills and coming up with the right job goals for what they want to do, making sure they're realistic and those jobs are actually there in Bristol. No taxi drivers that can't drive. We want to make sure that these goals are realistic and help support people with those goals. Then everything from sort of CV writing, interview prep, more training, financial support when they go into work. So yeah, very varied role. No two candidates are the same. We have some very, very different people referred to us. So our jobs keep it interesting for us, really.
I'm going to say, you've got to deal with a lot of people there. That's not something I would take on lightly, even talk about lightly. I've got to say, we heard Asher's comments about the pandemic and how it affected things in Bristol. How would you say? How do you feel the jobs market has changed post-pandemic?
So I think employers' attitudes have changed considerably. So although we'll talk about this a little bit later on, gaps in employment isn't something that employers technically worry about too much anymore, particularly if the gap's been over the last year. I think employers are a little bit more open to taking people from other sectors that have spent some time to retrain and learn some new skills. And a lot of the jobs have changed their duties as well. We're seeing a lot more remote working. We're seeing jobs that weren't around anymore. There's lots more cleaning positions and things like that, trying to keep us safe and healthy in our working environment. So, yeah, markets are fluctuating, but I think certainly over the last 3 to 4 months, vacancies have been picking up again. Just the typical Indeed search is giving probably 2 times the vacancies it was given a year ago. So things are definitely picking up, but the sectors have changed.
Absolutely. I mean, I find that myself just going around and what I hear. It's very strange. It feels everything feels very different and new. No matter how long you've been in work now, you can't really avoid how things are different. And a lot of people, even in work, are having to adjust. So I can't imagine what it's like for people who are looking for work now. While we're on the subject of Seetec Plus, can I ask you, how do people get in touch?
With us?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have work mobile phones, so text, email, call, FaceTime, WhatsApp, any of those sort of communications I'm happy to receive from our customers.
Fantastic. What's your website again?
Seetec website, it is www.seetecplus.co.uk, I believe.
Fantastic, thank you. Now I'm going to bring you in, Caitlin, at long last. Sorry to keep you waiting there. You're currently being supported to look for work by Adam and the Bristol team, I believe.
Yes, yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Fantastic. So could you tell us what sort of work are you looking for?
So at the moment, I'm kind of looking for marketing, which is a bit of a new step for me. I did media arts at university, so they are linked, but I'd never worked in marketing before kind of the pandemic, but decided to use the pandemic to rethink what my career path was going to be. And so, and they've helped me a lot with that, giving me training. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, let's stick with the training and skills a minute. Could you tell us a little bit about your skills?
Yeah, so I've recently completed some social media training with a course that I was provided with. I've now expanded my kind of like skill set. I've learned kind of about SEO and and about digital marketing, social media marketing, marketing in general, sales. About all like the different types of social media and how they work. Yes.
A fair old chunk there, and I'm someone who understands a little bit about SEO. It's not to be underestimated. I get that a lot. So I've got a web development background. That is a chunk. So I'd give you a hat tip there if I was wearing one. Asher, I'm going to come back to you and just ask how it makes you feel and how genuinely it is to see this kind of stuff happening between like a company like Seetec and Caitlin.
Oh, no, I think it's incredibly important. I think one of the reasons why these organisations like Seetec Plus exist is to ensure that they can help individuals get right back on track and actually tap into the skills that that they have, and people may feel that actually it's not relevant to today's market. So the fact that they will identify, work with individuals, look at their their everything from kind of even CV writing skills and looking at the training and support that they are providing. It's great to hear the work that Caitlin is doing in relation to her role as a marketing expert. And I would say to you, do look on the City Council website. We're always looking, in spite of the pandemic, it's amazing how many people we actually continue to employ even throughout the pandemic. Some people starting their jobs and still working online as well. So that was one of the things I wanted to say as well, having to adapt to new ways of working, where it's going to be maybe a hybrid of working from home and working across teams. So that's something that training organisations like Seetec, if you're not already thinking about that, but something to be added to the training profile, how people work, what could be in isolation and working in any hybrid way.
And Adam, I can imagine it's great to hear someone like Asher, the Deputy Mayor of Bristol, saying things and helping with things like this as well.
Oh, it's amazing to hear the work that you do, and the fact that there could be potential vacancies for Caitlin that would be suitable. I mean, that is our next step. Is to sort of get some possibly volunteer work experience to try and prove that Caitlin's got the skills. So if that's something that you're able to offer within the mayoral team, Asher, that might be something we can send Caitlin's CV across for.
Well, I will say to you, just send through it. I mean, we do provide work experience and mentoring support across the council. So at the moment, we've got an intern program that is happening. I think it comes to an end this month. But I met with two of our applicants, one of whom is working in the marketing and comms team, and they've actually given her specific projects to kind of get on and do. So it's not just somebody there to, we're actually giving them practical pieces of work to do. So do drop me your CV, and I'm more than happy to look at ways in which we can maybe get you to come in and. We can get you to come in and work, alongside members of the mayor's team or indeed our comms team.
Fantastic stuff. This is going better than, it was already going well, but that's gone way better than expected.
And we can open it up to other partners as well, because as I said, we have something called the One City approach here in the city. And so we are working across different sectors and, so if not the city council, I can pick up the phone and talk to one of the other organisations. It could be the police, it could be NHS, it could be the private sector, Hargreaves Lansdown, Osborne, the willingness that there is now. You're right in terms of the employers are kind of changing and shifting. And I think this whole last year and a half has really made a lot of people really sit down and kind of reflect and understand how, how they can adapt their recruitment processes and support people back into jobs.
Absolutely fantastic. I'm going to come back to you, Caitlin, now. Now, apart from obviously what we've just chatted about, which sounds really positive, what is it like at the moment looking for jobs out there, considering all the changes in the way people are advertising for work, looking for work, and what's available?
It can, I suppose, be a bit disheartening sometimes. Applying, I think there's just so many people in the exact same position as me, that the scale of people kind of like applying and like, they might have better skill set than I do, but it can get you down sometimes, but
you did a bit of temp work, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
And I think the nature of some of the agencies and how they operate were kind of making you think that was your only option.
Yeah.
Sort of making noises that, there's not many jobs out there.
Yeah, like this is your best option. Like, the only way you're going to get a job. Yeah.
I think it gets very easy to have all these different people's voices going on and makes you feel a little bit pigeonholed, doesn't it? And you can't see, it gets a bit harder and harder to see what actually is out there and what differences there are. And I can imagine Seetec, we can see obviously that Adam is a great help. Other than the training and obviously what we've seen, how else is Seetec Plus supporting you?
When I first came, they obviously, went through my CV with me to see if there was anything, to make it better. Maybe it's like the way I've written it that, isn't helping, or, and then we came up with a new cover letter for me and really focusing on kind of, what I want to go into, and targeting it towards that, and changing it, like per job and everything, and teaching me how to do that better, to focus myself for where I'm trying to go. So that's been a big help.
It's really good. It's lovely to hear, because I hear this time and time again with Seetec. They focus on so much more than just the obviousness that is just, here's how to get to work. There's a lot more aspects. You've got to think about things like how you feel mentally about things, how your confidence is, and it's great to see that that's all being covered. And I think it's a great help and a great way to help people realise their own potential and what they can do outside of, again, the bubbles that people seem to put people into. I want to ask a little bit of a lighter question though. What are your hopes for the future?
Me?
Yeah.
Obviously, I hope to get a job, and hopefully it'll be something in a sector that I have a real interest in, rather than just a job. I would really like to be passionate about my job and start my career path really. That's what I'm for.
It's that same old phrase, isn't it? If you do something you really, really enjoy as work, you'll never work a day in your life because you enjoy it so much. And I can imagine that's what most people would want, and fair enough. I'm going to ask you just one last question. I'm going to ask everyone this in turn. Caitlin, what would be your top advice for someone who's looking for work at the moment?
Come to Seetec.
Yeah, come to Seetec. Yeah. I had to ask universal credit for the help and referral, and so if there are people on universal credit, for example, that don't really know what they're doing, ask for the referral, ask for the help. And there are other services, the National Career Service, and they're very good as well. Just ask, because yeah, you don't know what you're going to get otherwise.
I think that's very fair as well, because I think a lot of boundaries are created by people maybe not wanting to ask or feeling like that it's not right to ask. And when you actually do, I find people getting more of a positive response than they're expecting. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. And also, I mean, I feel like arting and like really showing that you're kind of that you've got the interest. I mean, not that people don't have an interest to have a job, but I mean that you're like being very proactive. Like, please help me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, yeah.
Just showing your willingness to help and work. If you're positive about it, they're going to want to help you, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Perfect stuff. Now, Adam, I feel I'm going to know the answer to your question here, but I'm going to ask anyway. What would be your top advice?
Aside from Seetec, it's what Caitlin says, really, just reach out. And it doesn't need to be to your job centre or to your local organisation that's there to sort of help you. Reach out to everybody. Everybody in your network, that includes Facebook and the local pub. The more people that know that you're looking for help and support to get back to work, the more people that are going to be willing to help you. There's a massive hidden market out there that needs tapping into, and I think the only way you're going to get access to that is by reaching out and asking for that support and those jobs, really.
Fantastic. And Asha, I'd like to come back to you now. With all the things that you do, what would you say your top advice be for someone who is looking to work at the moment?
Well, if you're based in Bristol, then please, go through our One Front Door Ways to Work initiative. We're working with employers. Those of you who are looking for new job opportunities, it's kind of like a one-stop online shop that you can utilise, and no doubt information on organisations like Seetec Plus and others. We will work with you on what your needs are and make sure that you are pointed in the right direction, whether you're ready to go after jobs or apprenticeship opportunities. We can look at volunteering opportunities as well. So whilst waiting on, securing a job opportunity, you can look at maybe volunteering in organisations, because the same skill set that you are looking to develop and enhance is required right across the city.
Fantastic stuff. Well, all it leaves me to say now is just a big thank you to all three of you. It's been a pleasure to talk to you all, to see the positivity from, three very different areas in this topic that we're talking about. It'd be lovely to see how you do and maybe get you on the show again as well.
Absolutely. More than happy to come back on.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Absolutely fantastic. Well, there we go, guys. A big thank you again to all three of our guests there. Asha, Deputy Mayor of Bristol, Adam from Seetec Plus, and Caitlin, who is being helped by Seetec to be getting back into work. We hope you have enjoyed this show today. My name's Pudge. I've been your presenter, and I'll catch you again soon.